Okay, we're back again at this 410th Knowledge Seekers Workshop on Thursday, December 9th, 2021. This will be the second part of the presentation. Mr. Kesh, are you willing to take some questions at this point? I'm not hearing Mr. Kesh. I think he needs to come back in. Just bear with us a minute here. Hello, Mr. Kesh, are you there?
Hello.
We hear you now.
Yes, so I think we had somehow got dropped off and come back in again. Sorry about this. As usual, technical problems. Where is it? Yes, any question you have, we can answer and see. We try to answer. We try to understand more in how things work around us. Would you like to? As you say.
Okay. We have a number of questions coming up already here. And as usual, I remind our attendees here in the Zoom meeting that they can open their microphones if they, or they can, raise their hand and we can open your microphone. So just checking to make sure that is, yes, that is applied today. So if you have a question, please raise your hand and we will address it. So we have a question from Paulo in the Q&A. That was the first question that came up. And it might be a little difficult. It was originally in, I believe it's in Spanish or perhaps Portuguese, but he's put in a translation as well, which goes, Mr. Kesh, would it be pertinent to clarify for us, despite perhaps your modesty in making it difficult to speak, about your mission for these new times when human science finally meets with divine science? Could you tell us the source of so much knowledge and how you precede it and interpret it for our understanding? I think your answer would help us to bring in more influencers to be new, I don't know, BCs. I'm not sure what BCs mean, but new knowledge seekers, perhaps. I'm not sure.
Would you like to read it from the beginning again?
Okay. Mr. Kesh, would it be pertinent to clarify for us, despite perhaps his modesty in making it difficult to speak, about his mission for these new times when human science finally meets with divine science? Could you tell us the source of so much knowledge and how you precede it and interpret it for our understanding? I think your answer would help us to bring in more influencers to be new BCs. I'm not sure what BCs mean.
The enrichment of the knowledge comes from within, not outside. And it is when you would talk about the generality of the knowledge of the past or the present, I'm trying to explain it in a very as a unification of the two. The knowledge we had or we gain up to now, doesn't matter even if it's in boiling the water that kills the bacteria, or nuclear weapon technology, or anything else. These are still part of the knowledge of the Creator. These are not the knowledge of man. Any knowledge we gain is part of the knowledge of creation. Is not that, as I said, if you read the papers, the scientists are prophet of and messengers of the Creator, the same as those of theology. So there is no separation except what you want to put on. And the extent of the knowledge which we put on is that the whole structure of the knowledge is all the same, is one line. And depends how much you are enlightened to see further down the tunnel of the knowledge, in what purity we see, and what we decide to see in which part. It's very much like when you decide in the science to go through the medicine or become an engineer, or you have one which sits and sees the whole lot. And so we are those who see more and have access to more knowledge. Our knowledge is the knowledge of the creation and the Creator, the same as yours. But you have chosen to see, let's say, 10 centimeters ahead of you, which is all physicality. We choose to see directly to the light of the Creator, to the end of the tunnel. And in that process, all the knowledges within that is open to us. In a physical dimension, we are no different. In other dimensions, when it comes to the knowledge, we understand more, we see more, and in a way, even us get enlightened in stages by stages that we understand the process ourselves, that we can transfer the knowledge the correct way. When you look at the what I call the 3 holy books of the New Science, book 1, book 2, and book 3, opens the knowledge of the universe and not knowledge of the man. But if you are materialistic, you look at it in the matter state. But when you put book 1, 2, and 3, you see the knowledge of the Creator. It depends which end you sit and look at. You look at the book number 3 and down the tunnel of the light to book number 1, you see all of it, how it becomes matter state. But when you look at the book number 1 and you look to the tunnel of the light to book number 3, some of it's because the light is shining in your eyes. You're blinded to the totality. It's very much because you're blinded with the matter state. You don't see the others. When we look into the sun, when we look directly, we don't see the totality of it. We duck and dive a little, or we put something in front of us to dimmer the light that we can see the sun directly. And this is the same with the knowledge. We stand on the universal side, looking down the matter end, where humanity and the physical condition stands in the matter end, looks into the direction of the sun, of the light, of the knowledge of the Creator. And this is where it comes. That's where is the difference. When you come part of the way through this light and you look down back on the knowledge of the matter, when you're enlightened, you are in the same position, but you have a light behind you and you see what we call matter state in front. So our knowledge is not that what is our position, what it is. We stand to look in totality of the reduction, in the essence of the creation. And in the matter state, we try to understand what has brought us to here to become matter state, and we try to look back into the light of the Creator to understand more. And that's the only difference. In dimension, we are the same. In comprehension, we are all the same. Is the enlightenment, which is the difference. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Kesh. We have a question from Cristiano in the Q&A regarding attachments to physicality, I would say.
It's a message before you go. There's a message in the chat I just saw coming up about somebody about the magnet system. Keshe Foundation has all the magnet system. We just don't have.
Hello, Mr. Kesh. Sorry, you broke up at we just don't have.
Yes, well, there's a message on the chat that refers to a magnet system to a portable. Keshe Foundation have, or whatever we sell now, we have a stock of. We are not short of any stock in Asia. It's just that we are facing a huge manpower shortage within the structure of the Keshe Foundation and getting things done. And the corona situation has not helped us much. And this is part of our problem. Your magnet system is already built, has been shipped from Italy to Keshe Foundation in Austria. We are now going to build it. And it's just a matter of getting the time or finding the people to bring all these things to adopt what we call the adapters, the plugs, and to ship, or finding the materials we ship from other points into one position. Keshe Foundation at this moment of time is not short of any materials. The enhancement units are getting built in China at a rate of 3 a week. And after New Year, we'll try to go to about 100 a month. And everything else which you see on the Keshe Foundation website is more or less all of it is in the stock. Unless we receive a large order which we advance forward. It's just that we don't have the trusty manpowers who work within us, even though we have expanded, we've separated the dispatch and everything else.
Hello, Mr. Kesh. I think we lost you again.
Not recruit. Can you hear me?
I hear you now. Something about dispatch,
Hello?
and then we lost you. Can you hear me?
Dispatch. Let me see. Yes. Let me just check something in the background. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you good.
Yeah, we have a problem. Just let me see what is the problem. 1 second. And then I'll tell you why you have a problem hearing this.
Sounds like a bandwidth thing rather than a microphone thing.
Yes, I appreciate it. Can you hear me now?
Sounds loud and clear.
Is it better?
I think so.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's because we run 3 or 4 systems behind each other. If one of them falls into a problem, we have a problem. So we are not short of, as I was explaining, what you call goods. We are short of workforce to dispatch. And everything we sell, I have made sure on the Keshe Foundation's what we call store has to be in the stock. That validity and the capability. And this has cost the Keshe Foundation a lot of money in the past 6 months. As we reorganize, we have shipped to 2 locations, and then it'll become 3 locations shipment, which means all the goods should be, if one cannot meet from China, it'll be met by our new warehouse in Austria, which is getting extended, and what we call more materials get added to it. If there is a delay, we apologize. It's just the manpower that is our biggest problem, and bringing people who know what they are doing, and just bringing people. In so many ways, we just stopped recruiting people who were knowledge seekers, but they actually could not do much. They're perfect knowledge seekers, but in a physical working condition, they cannot perform. And this is one of our positions which we are changing gradually in the coming weeks and months. And Corona has not helped us. We cannot bring people into Austria as we started doing, because now with the Corona and injections compulsory, nobody wants to come to live in Austria, because from February they have to have injections, and nobody wants to be in that phase. This has created another cycle of problems for our manufacturing. We are looking to move out of part of our manufacturing out of Austria very rapidly. And this we will know within the next month or two, that we allow our work to expand very rapidly in what we call manufacturing and deliveries. We apologize. It's not that we don't have the stock. I can send you pictures of your MagGraph system sitting on the tables in the factory, in the warehouse, but it's just that getting everything sorted and produced and put in position to ship. I'm sure your MagGraph system is already what we found out. The people who they boxed it the wrong way, and they put the car unit MagGraph system instead of the MagGraph system. I think if somebody in the factory can send us a picture, you see exactly what I'm talking about. The MagGraph units in the box, but our people who brought in did not understand the difference between the car MagGraph and the MagGraph unit. They've gone into the stock and they brought a car MagGraph unit box out. If we have people in the background in the factory, if you can send us a picture, you can see yourself exactly what I'm talking about. So we are not short of. It's just manpower which has hit us very badly in Austria. We're trying to resolve, and I apologize for the delay. Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We had a question from Brazil team through Cristiano. The question is by Marco, who asks, when people in their physical life accumulate fortunes and for fear of losing their fortunes or being stolen by someone, they bury something valuable, but then that person comes to die. So the question is, does the soul become attached to that fortune? And when someone finds the physical treasure, does it free that soul, or is it not like that?
You brought a point which I'm very familiar with, and I know it firsthand. And is the soul of detachment of physicality is still attached to it, but not the soul of man. But the soul of physicality has left behind in becoming part of the soul of the man. So there is no attachment to it. This has happened within my family in the past century or a bit more, when my greater family, my grandparents, great grandparents, used to live in Georgia as part of the what I call Jewish community in Georgia. And when the Tsar came in, they allowed the Jewish community, were of the Iranian background or whatever, to decide to go to Poland or to go to what we call Iran, back to the home, original home. And what my great-grandparents did, the Russians became very clever in that the Jews were taking a lot of jewelry, diamonds, and the assets by swallowing it. They used to, because they used to carry a lot of diamonds and that kind of things, and they buried some of it within the structure, and they left the structure of where they buried the, what do you call it, the family loom. And they traveled back to Iran through Caspian Sea, but they were kept in camps for some times to make sure if they swallowed any jewelry, whatever, they could collect the discharge in a special toilets they built for the people who were going through the transit. And got hold of the truth. Well, my oldest second cousins, who was actually born in Russia, she's entitled to carry a Russian passport. When the Russia opened up, went back, trying to find what was hidden by the family, buried in the ground, for one day they come back to get hold of. She met with some of the ex-families there, but nobody knew the totality, and she could never find it. So I'm quite familiar with this, but it's the attachment and detachment. Nobody knew this except this lady, and she went to get it. And there was always a discussion in the family. Why did she go back to Russia so much, especially to going to back to get this, what they call family loop. And there was a lot of sentimentality between with my mother and the family, that why she done this. This was buried and not to be touched. But to her was had to have a, what they call a sentimental value or a physical value to get hold of. And in a way, I said to my mom that time, she always been like this. Physicality has been more than I understand. That was a memory that everybody had in the family, that such a thing was buried in what we call in the place. And now she has literally destroyed the emotion and the connection of the family, that what we call the wealth was buried there. And one day we'll find out and will be found. And it brought a lot of, what do you call it, thinking within the family. And the very recent one is, if you heard the news in past week or so, I think it's in France, somebody found, or in one of the European countries, he found a packages of stones, precious stones. Some time ago, he handed it over to I think the French government. And last week, half of the stones was returned back to the founder as his, what do you call it? And the rest was kept by was given by the community by the government to the community, that they could sell the gems and create some sort of finance for the community. But what was interesting about this was that the part of the recommendation or understanding where these gems came from was that these gems could have belonged to an Indian traveler, which the plane crashed near that site in 1980s or 1990s, some 30 years ago. And so nobody could put a claim on it. But is the soul of that Indian man, which they think stone belong to, is still with the stone? This raised the question for me last week when I heard this news. You check it on the internet, maybe you can enlighten us more with it, and then you understand, is the soul of the man who carried it is the same. We had another situation in Freetown about 20, 30 years ago. A plane taking off from Freetown crashed into the ocean directly by what we call near the beach, near the airport. And if you've been to Sierra Leone,
the airport is in an island. You have to get a boat to get to the airport. And they found, and I said that time, is that maybe the price of the aircraft was the amount of the diamonds which are on the aircraft, because a lot of diamonds comes out Sierra Leone into Europe, and is always carried by Lebanese. And who is the attachment of the soul of the man with the gems, or is the gems part of the attachment to other part which the soul has left? It's not an easy question, but it's the reality which sits with all of us, and what we call is part of what we have to analyze it. But as far as we can say, it is part of the soul of physicality. I promise you, and thank you very much for the people in the factory in Austria, you can see your maglev systems. So it's just a matter of dispatch. And then if you open up the picture, you say it's a car power unit. They took the wrong box in the stock, and the stock sits in containers. And because they don't understand the difference, if you see it's about 12, 15 maglev units to be shipped, they had to go back to the factory. And what I suggest is just cross the car out and ship it out. Then you have a maglev power unit. So when we tell you we are not short, and what you see immediately next to it in the brown boxes, these are boxes of the horizontal and vertical units which are to be assembled to be dispatched. And now you understand when we tell you we are not short, it's just the manpower creates us this problem. And your maglev unit, most probably your order is part of this stock. It's there for about 3-4 weeks trying to get sorted out, because I noticed when I was there, this was there, and I was explaining this is the problem with it. And I said, just cross the car out and just send it maglev unit. Because it has to be perfect when it goes out of the cash manager. So you cannot find these boxes when it was shipped from Italy. Just do this with it for temporarily. Thank you very much. Next question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. I did
By the
have.
way, what we are, just can I add to it? You will receive, we will dispatch, we'll start promoting the maglev units extensively in the next couple of months. Once our, what I call factory in Tehran, which is primarily designed to produce maglev systems, is what you call goes under full production. The factory is all getting done. As you can see the pictures of the factory in Tehran, and it's a beautiful place. And we will start promoting the Keshe Foundation maglev technology power units exported from Tehran across the world, because now we're trying to get factories specialized in certain items that we can support. And that's thanks to the officials in Iranian government and the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers, which they run our operation in Tehran. Thank you very much. Yes, next question.
Thank you. That's an interesting design.
Yes, it's the new logo of the Keshe Foundation. It used to be colors next to each other. Now, our head of the television, Marius, has redesigned it, and it understands very nicely.
I think that's the first lit KF sign that I've seen. That's quite nice.
Nice one. The what we call Mexico has tried one with the green lights. It looks very nice as well. But that is later on the logo. You will see new developments out of Iran, and the Keshe Foundation is moving into new structures and in new ways, and we'll see how it will come up.
Very good. Okay, we had a question from Alexandra about where can I find the article on the interatomic fusion or can you tell me a little more about that? Now, I did notice that it's listed
Isn't this
in,
for sale in Amazon?
is it in Amazon? Okay, it's in
I
the
think
list of
so.
published and
I think
unpublished
so.
works of Mehran Kesh in the Kesh Foundation Education /books. But perhaps it's available, yes, in Amazon. I was wondering if that information was part of the books, or is that a separate? I know some of your papers were incorporated into the books. So
Let me see. I have the books behind me. Just 1 second. While you're talking, I check.
I'll just show the website here with the various published and unpublished works here. So this is the books plus electronic documents it mentions here. Don't see the interatomic fusion as part of it. But it's on the list here of all these various. We have fusion, that's a separate one, and the atom, and electron atomic welding even. But we get down a little further.
It's a paper written, and I've seen
There's
the original.
the interatomic fusion, it's called. And here's some extracts from the paper that are listed here in this blurb here from it. But we don't have a link directly to it from the website from the Kesh Foundation. So perhaps I can find it. Was in Amazon, you thought maybe?
Maybe there are many things. A lot of documents of the Kesh Foundation was stolen from the Kesh Foundation and passed by the Belgians, and they're proud to show it. This is the assets of Kesh Foundation, and this nation has kills or steals as their nature. And as I said, pedophilia, prostitution, and stealing is part of their work. And so later we get these back into the ranks of the Kesh Foundation archives. One way or another, the knowledge is there and documented, and it sits within it. And we'll see how, if it's in the archives of the knowledge of the papers we have kept, and we'll see how we can share it.
Okay,
there is a hard copy of these on our discs, and we have all the hard discs archived, stored, and it's with me. I personally moved them into a safe place before they get stolen again. And in due course, we'll get it deciphered. There are many, many hard disks with a lot of knowledge which has never been shared, which will be kept. Even when we changed computers, we took the hard disks out. And because there's a lot of communications of new papers and everything else which sits in them, and they'll be shared. The only thing we lost, which is unfortunate, is when GoDaddy, we switched from .com to .org, we lost some documents in that, what we call .com section, which I'm sure a lot of it has been stored. Any other question?
Okay, yes. Let's see here. From Freed in the Q&A. Well, we have a question from our hand up from Marinez here first. Let's address that. And I see Jalal just put a hand up as well.
My God, that's 4 questions now.
It's 4 times 4
Maybe
probably.
it's 4 times 4.
Go ahead.
Hello.
It's now
Sorry.
4 squared instead of, or 2 squared instead of 2. 2 to the 2.
It was a mistake. I'm sorry.
Well, there's 2 down,
Go down.
2 to go.
But this is
Hillel?
usually 4.
Good day, Mr. Kash. Thank you, Rick.
Hi, Jalal.
It's regarding the papers here. Yesterday in the teaching, I have in a way a question from Claudia. I think it's regarding the truth about homeopathy. I think through this now this voice, if she can go and in a way order this paper, it will add a lot to what she knows. Yesterday the question was about the vibration to change a condition, and I tried to answer it in my bizarre way, and I hope I succeed. And I try to make the difference between how we make the same thing by magnetic positioning, gravitational magnetical positioning, and the different way of homeopathy by shaking to take a position. I hope I could answer it in a way.
Yeah, the paper called about the truth about homeopathy.
Yeah.
This paper was written in a few hours. And I'll give you a history behind it. My sister, she's a dentist. And at the same time, she is a homeopath as well. Dentists usually, when they get older, their hands become shaky. They try to still stay in medicine, and they do other things, homeopathy, acupuncture, and that kind of thing to keep busy. And she is a qualified homeopath. And she was with us in the Sansano, and she asked me the question, can you explain what is the whatever? I said, let me rest, and I tell you when I wake up. And I was lying down. When I woke up, she said, I've seen you. You're going to write the paper. I've seen you downloading how you clarified the knowledge while you're asleep, how to do. I said, not downloading, it's just accessing to the right file that you can get it. And I got up, and that afternoon, I wrote the paper, The Truth About Homeopathy. The word, I cannot pronounce it correctly if I'm right. Rick, it's called when you shake it, there's a specific name in homeopathy for it. And it's the way you shake and the number of the shakes you create, and in how you realign the number of the energies and atoms of the water.
I think it's
Organize.
succussion or something like
Pardon?
that.
Yeah, it's in the paper. It's
Succussion is what it is.
Succussion. Yeah, that's the word.
Succussion.
Yeah,
Succussion.
that's the word, succussion.
The action or process of shaking, or the condition of being shaken, especially with violence.
Yeah. So it's shaking. In a way, it's a realignment. If you understand this, it's very much like how you shake. In homeopathy, there is a slight problem that they haven't got this section the right way, because the machine shakes in one direction only. If you understood the science of magnetism, and you could change this shaking, not only in a vertical, but shake it in the same different directions and angles in the machine, you can cover more. But they have not understood this. And we know this because if you go back into the understanding of magnetizing the iron, if you hammer iron vertically down, it doesn't magnetize. If you hold it in a specific angle and you hammer it, depends how you hammer the nail, it'll become magnetic. This is one of the reasons, for example, unknowingly, all of you, if you ever held a drill and you try to drill a hole, what do you call it, a screw into a piece of wood, and it bends a little bit or whatever, you see the screw wasn't magnetized before, but if it falls, it sticks on. Because the rhythm that the screwdriver hits the head of the hammer and in an angle, if accidentally you reach that angle, you what do you call it, magnetize the screw. So we all done it before without knowing it, but scientifically we know what it means. The homeopathy people, they have not understood this. And this is the truth about how you align by shaking it, all of material in one direction. You can hammer a nail in a given angle, never, what do you call it, magnetizes. But if you apply the right force with the right angle, the nail will magnetize. We see all of us, as I said, use these new small handrails. We've seen it, but we never understood it. And it's the same with the homeopathy. Homeopathy is how you shake in what angle. If you add it, you can add all the angles into it and create it. But we do the same thing in gas production. When we produce gases, when we put them in the highest speed, depending on the speed and what we put through it, we create a plasmatic field of it. In the homeopathy, we create a matter state field. In gas production, we create a plasmatic field of the same. One is the soul, and one is the soul of physicality, if you call it dimension of physicality. And that's the truth about what we call homeopathy. And so when you realign the magnetic field of it in the strength of the, let's say, the cell of the heart, when it interacts you with the heart. This is what we do with the gas plasma technology, but in a more advanced way. And that's the truth about what we call homeopathy. And that's thanks to my sister asking, can you explain? And this paper was written within a couple of hours.
So thank you, Mr. Kash. So it is better than my questions.
Your answer, you mean. Thank you very much for your work.
Thank
Jalal.
you. Thank you, Mr. Kash. Regarding the square, Rick, Mr. Kash, when you going to teach the square knowledge?
What do you mean the square knowledge?
There is knowledge behind the square.
What knowledge? What's your extent of knowledge? What's the extent of your understanding?
Here now in this position?
Yes. We are in teaching. We are all knowledge seekers. What's the extent of your understanding of square?
Yes. How we achieve a square out of the fields?
Now I'm going to put it to you in the way you do it. I'll put you two questions. A square,
Okay.
a square as doubling it, or a square as a shape?
The first one, please, Mr. Kash. I didn't hear it.
A square as doubling or a square as a shape?
I think that make no difference, Mr. Kash, in my opinion. If you come
Yes,
in reality.
there's a big difference. Of course, there's a big difference. What are you talking about? There's a big difference. One is in the number and one is in the shape.
Okay.
when you want double the strength of the plasma, it's a different technology that the one which you talk about the shape as a square. Increasing the energy of a plasma is a specific technology. Is very much deep in true essence of cosmology. Can be done in matter state, but it's not the way you do in electronics with increasing the current or whatever. Increasing the energy of the plasma, doubling it is a unique understanding of the work of the interaction of the fields, and
Mr. Kash, isn't that the same what the skin do?
No. The skin works in a maybe similar way, but not exactly, not really. And going to creating the square as a shape, we know the world of science has a big problem with that. Let's say the light cannot be bent, but plasmatic fields can be bent if you know how to bend it. Because part of is a spectrum, when it's a matter state, strength becomes conditioned to the matter condition field strength, which still not, you can only bend the light. We can actually square the light too. Now that we understand each ray, if it is particle or it's the photon that is a ray, then you understand how you can change and make a light as a photon to become a square. You play with a pull of the gravity or magnetic field strength within the light, and you can bend it. This is unknown knowledge to mankind, but in due course we teach it. It is part of the transportation and transmutation system.
Yes, this way. That's why I asked it.
Yeah.
Because I know it's part of it.
It's part of the, when it's a particle, we can do it, because when it's a particle, it carries both dimensions of gravitational magnetic field. And if you have systems which can interact, can pull. This technology in a way was used very recently by Iranian scientists without them knowing, but in a way it was used. One day I'll refer to it, I'll explain. You can bend the light 180 degrees to go back down the line which has come by changing its gravitational magnetic field. And this is part of the creation of cosmic rays. Most of the cosmic rays comes by reflection of the light itself, the field itself, back down its own tunnel. In a way, you laser beam the laser beam. But in that condition, is a laser plasma, is a monoenergetic, which can be sustained, and it's not very easy. It doesn't happen often, but because of due to the size of the cosmos, it's a frequent event, but it's not an easy event. It's understanding the knowledge. I call this once the game of the Russians and the Americans in 1950s, 60s. The Americans sent their matchbox to the Russians, and they waited, and they waited, and the Russians sent the matchbox back to the
Yeah.
Americans, if you know that.
Yeah.
And then the Americans wrote to the Russians that you didn't see there was a microfiber in the box. You did not see it. The Russians sent the message, look down the center of the microfiber, we behold, we made
There's
a
a
hole
hole.
in it. So this is the reality. If you can become that hole within the same light, then you can. And this leads to creation of a lot of new knowledge which is hidden from the mind.
and it's the essence of the creation of the cosmic rays. Because when the cosmic rays move down, but they're created out of the essence of the interaction of the plasmatic fields within the plasmatic fields of the same strength. In a way, you cut through a butter with a butter.
Okay, Mr. Kash, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
Okay, we have a couple of hands up here. We have Marinez again.
Back again.
And we can take a chance on that. Hello, Marinez. Do you wish to
Yes.
have a question? Okay.
Hello, Mr. Cash. Hello, Rick. Hello, everybody. Well, I had an idea of is the when we see the image of a saint, we see the light in the painting, you know, like a star which shines. Is it that light? And people at the time could see that light because they're painting that light. You know, like a holy branches of the light around the head of the saint people.
Some people.
Yeah, like Jesus.
You mean
like
saints, right?
saints.
Ah, okay. And you're talking about rays coming from the
Yeah,
that
around
that were
the head.
painted. Mhm.
Exactly. You
This
have
is
like
painted. It's a light. It's the light of enlightenment to understand, because we have a saint of a specific thing, like on the 2-3 days ago on the 6th of December, is the what we call San Nicholas, which what do you call it? Saint of children. And in a Orthodox and Catholic church, on the 6th of December, the children, as is tradition, wait for the carrot or the sweet. And if you live in European countries, you see St. Nicholas comes on the street. It looks like a Father Christmas, but with different kind of hat, to give sweets and gifts to children. And that's enlightenment. It is not anything else. It's the sign of enlightenment. It's man-made to show they've been enlightened to that knowledge for that reason, for whatever specific reason.
but can we see? Could people at the time see the light around the head of the saint?
You see the light around the holy people, even you and me, depending on what we are holy about. It's the aura, you call it. It depends how you want to explain it.
Aura is the same as that light?
Yes, it's an interaction. It's a symbolic
Yeah.
enlightenment. It's not that you see a glowing glow on top.
Exactly. Yeah. Is it why people are nice to people because of that light which they don't see?
It's an enlightenment how you can reach, to what extent you can reach. And this is enlightenment, which is human dependent and more than anything else.
Thank you for all the teachings, Mr. Kish. Have a good day.
The messengers of God are seen in the gold and the white light. And when you're seen in the white light, is the level of the affirmation to the light of Creator, which is the same, is confirmation of the existence and interaction. But the rest is what we see in the dimension of mankind.
Okay, thank you. Now I'd like to bring up the question from Freed in the Q&A here, who says, Dear Mr. Kesh, does just seeing and enjoying the beauty and perfection in nature and all forms of creation feed the soul of the man as well as the soul of physicality? Is this then an elegant way to be satisfied and have no more need for killing? As you said earlier.
Could you read the first piece I missed?
Okay. Question, Dear Mr. Kesh, it's from Freed. Does just seeing and enjoying the beauty and perfection.
Just seeing what? That word I don't understand.
Oh, does just seeing and enjoying the beauty and perfection in nature and all forms of creation feed the soul of man?
Can you translate?
Well, when we see the beauty of nature and other forms of creation, and it feed the soul of man as well as the soul of physicality? That's the first question.
Yes, well, what we receive in the soul of physicality, if it's at the strength of the connection to the soul of the man, yes, you transmute and transfer. This is what we do at the point of death. At the point of physical death, what is at the strength of the soul of the man, which has been a common denominator or embedded in every cell of the man to be in communication with the soul of the man, these all get transferred back to the soul. It's like there is a bandwidth of the totality, what is at the strength of the purity of the soul of the man, that every cell reflects back into or given back to the soul of the man to carry. That's where the elevation comes from. That's why suddenly the strength becomes so much that the distance gap created. It's like when you put two magnets and they jump away from each other, the stronger does not move, the weaker moves away because the stronger holds. It's the way we travel the space units nowadays. Is then that point when the soul of the man feels the strength, totality of the whole, every single cell in the body of the man, which has his own soul, is given back to the soul or retained back by the soul, because that's how you get psychosomatic. You get the physicality and you get the soul of the man. And when they don't interact, when there's a problem, in soul of the man cannot connect, or soul of physicality of man does not connect correctly in sending your messages to the soul of the man with what we call interference of the emotion, you get psychosomatic problems where the soul and the physicality don't match in understanding transfer of the fields. And then where it comes from, that field is directed and connects to the soul, and the physicality cannot match and leads to cancer or all whatever it is. This is the truth about how we create most of our psychosomatic conditions. In that position, at the point of death, every single soul, at the strength of the soul of the man, which is a collective of the fields, which is connected to it, is returned back to the soul. And that gives a boost, what they call not a boost, but a strength in totality of the fields, which in a way rejects distance itself from the soul of physicality, and we call it the point becomes so far that we call it the point of death or separation of physicality. And this is what we fully should understand exactly why. If we be able to hold on to elevate the soul of the physicality to a point that there can never be that separation, man would never die. The fountain of youth, the everlasting life, is understanding how to elevate the soul of physicality, that the fields of the soul of the man, soul of physicality don't become so, what we call separated, that they reject each other, or they create a distance that the physical life cannot carry on. This is the fountain of youth. If you understand this, you will understand why races live for billions of years in space, because they can adjust that very fine. And those who by eating, by living a certain pattern of life, can create that balance. And then that leads to the next one, and the next condition, and the next. And with our understanding of the physicality and the soul of the man and soul of physicality, one can literally live in any dimension, whatever and ever. How you balance it? What do you take? What do you give? Carry on, please.
Thank you. Azar, would you like to go ahead and have Jefferson as well with a hand up here?
Good morning, Mr. Cash. Good morning, everyone. I don't have a question, but Jalal brought up the subject of homeopathy, and then you were talking about many times about the last man standing. This is a nice story. I thought it would be nice for people to know. My husband had he's a homeopathy and chiropractor. He had an office in Houston. So for many years, so 1 year, that's how he started to treat patients remotely. That's how he learned that when you have to, we have no choice, and that's the only way available. His sister, who was in another state, gets really sick, and the husband calls him and says, your sister is very sick and she's in severe pain. So he can see what's going on, the way he explained things. So, but he has no way to get the homeopathy that he thought is good for her. So he's thinking, what am I going to do? He says, okay, if I know, if I can give it to her in physicality, he should get improved. How about if I try to send it to the ether, to the air, to my mind? So that night, he tries that. He sent the homeopathy that he knows is good to send to her. And 1 hour later, the husband calls him and says, your sister just went to sleep and she has no pain. So that's how he started to treat patients remotely. And then when I started to learn about gases and CO2, zinc and everything, and the combination of them, what it does, he started to use the gases without making it, just introduce it to the patient body, and patient improved. And this is for all of us to know that we can do this in every aspect of our life to others, even if somebody is, because you can see if somebody has condition, you can see the emotion attached to it, and you can just feed that emotion or interact with them in a way that they understand the emotion. And then in time, you will see that they started to heal. I mean, the condition goes away. It could be sinuses or kidney or liver, but you can tune into it and you can direct them, and themselves actually they do the job. Or you just kind of initiate of it, and then understanding the emotion, can everything be done like that? And then for us, as a last man standing, we can, when we have no choice, and then we go to that level that we can feed ourselves, we can give ourselves shelter, we can give ourselves comfort of heat or whatever we need. And that's the beauty of this. That's what I was going to share. Thank you.
Can I say something regarding this, Mr. Cash?
Yes.
Thank you, Azar. If you see, I think it's both what Mr. Cash said here. It's the aura, which is higher source. In a way, we can say it in the level of the cosmos, because it's higher source of energy coming from direct from the soul of the man, or the interaction of the three layers of the physicality, emotion, and the soul, which make this transfer, as you refer, transfer information from from his aura in this case, Mr. Cash?
In what way?
Transfer the homeopathy knowledge to the sister?
No, Jalal, it
It's-
wasn't like that. You see what he does, he goes to that 0 point, between yin and yang, and which is nothing. That's where everything happens. That's where he goes. When he goes there, he just introduced that because that's the one Mr. Cash talks about. When there's nothing, that's everything is possible. That's what he explained to me what he does. He doesn't do it through the aura.
In a way, I think I'm not, in this discussion, this one, but from the knowledge what I have from how to mimic this source of energy, the books, so the square energy to transfer from one point to another point. And this is what I said. This was my question to regarding the transfer of information.
Jalal, there is a point when you hold, and there's no mind. You hold this space. When you go to a place, there's no mind. There's no longer a mind. That's the time actually you lose yourself. There's no you. When there's no you, that everything is there. That's the place he goes. And actually, sometimes he goes there for like half an hour. When he comes, actually, a lot of time he has to watch TV in order to come back to physicality. Because even the way he is, I explained to you, if I put something in the refrigerator in front of him, he doesn't see it. Because if he's in that world, he's not here. Because he goes to that space. There's no mind. There's exactly no mind. He's totally lost there. Like, then he comes back to this world. And for him, he's very adamant that every night he watches 1 hour TV in order to get back to physicality. Because he sees a lot of patients during the day for about 7-8 hours constantly with the phone. And he needs that interaction with something from this physicality to become normal.
Any other question?
Okay, go ahead with Jefferson, if you like, Jefferson.
Hello, Rick. Good morning.
I hear you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Jefferson Rodriguez from Brazil. Good morning, Mr. Cash. It's always an honor to be with you all here and everywhere. And it's not a question, but I'd like to bring an understanding that you opened today earlier in this teaching about the meeting of 5+1 that we have been elevating as much as we can. And I believe we are using all of the means from our souls collectively. It's a very, very nice movement that we've been living. But something was a kind of bothering back in the mind, because we were elevating 5+1, let's say, languages or countries. But what about the others? What about the whole community that we are in? So when we brought about the elevation of the IEA, that stands for International Energy Agency, I was looking who they are, and it's well open now. It's very nice because I was looking at it, and the International Energy Agency has got a 30 members countries and some associated countries. So you opened to the whole. If you allow me, I will say this. It's Australia, Austria, Belgium, Canada, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Japan, Luxembourg, Mexico, Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Slovakia, South Korea, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Turkey, United Kingdom, and United States. And the associated countries are Brazil, China, India, Indonesia, Morocco, Singapore, South Africa, and Thailand. So it's easier now for us to interact with all because it's totality. Not maybe this totality. It's that the really importance that you brought for us today. And the 6 players, they will receive the this energy elevation from this population from this country, so we can get it in the whole. So thank you very much for opening it for us. We will elevate in the stronger and the more elevated energy, so we can reach your plans and the way that you have a draw the this peace process, so we can join the universal and unicos totality. It's a very amazing moment. Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. And we are at the end of this calendar year. And I don't know if next week I will be able to be around, but I'd like to say thank you very much for those teachers from the private teaching that I recommend to everybody. That's amazing. And the hosters, I will say thank you to, of course, for you, Mr. Keshe, but Jalal, Alex, Rick, Mario, Marie, Mark, Christine, that is always supporting, Ekmar, Joseph, Ginter, is very beautiful souls in the private teaching and public teaching as well. And in Brazil have Josafat, Danilo, Rafael, and many others. We have thousands of teachers teaching in all levels, in the low level, and the low, I mean, in the beginning, but it's getting a very gravitational mass that I believe, in my humble view, that we can do it. We can do it. So thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. Again, thank you very much, everyone. It's always amazing opportunity to be with all personally here in the Zoom meetings, as well as in the soul level. That's amazing. And I thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you very much. The members of IAEA, International Atomic Energy Authorities, is a collection of different languages and different paths of belief. When we look at and we look into the structure of the United Nations, is the most, what I call, deceiving organization in the world. IAEA is slightly better than United Nations work, but in a concentrated way,
in self-proclaimed leaders in what we call United Nations Security Council, or what we call collective self-proclaimed leaders to control everything, is a different proposition than IAEA, what I call as a organization. It represents more, and it represents science, not politics, which they brought the politics into it. Where IEA is a scientific organization. It's the way I look at it, is part of what we said, the scientists are equal to the prophets of the soul and theology. In so many ways, we try to reach as much as possible. And that's why we ask the knowledge seekers. And the chief of IEA is Argentinian, well-seasoned diplomat. But the other members are of the same. Before we had symbolic. This time we have somebody who actually understands diplomacy of peace and nuclear technology. They have brought people with the right caliber and with the right understanding. We can reach a lot. My hope in the coming meetings with IAEA in a very short time is that we finally break that barrier. Understanding of it. It's not a bargain what we give, it's a bargain what we can share. The whole new approach from the Iranian side or Keshe Foundation as part of the Iranian organization with the 5+1 is we'll leave you to negotiate on your whatever you're talking about, but there's another option. What are we going to do with this new option, which all of us need? It cannot be excluded. And my hope, and it's the same with the members of the IAEA, is how can we bring the two sides together? How can we put a sanction on the knowledge? And then how can we share the same knowledge from the same country in a more advanced way? This is what is the dilemma now. This is what is one of my biggest objective or objections to the Iranian leadership. You are in to negotiate for peace, but why don't you, or why do you show only half of the cake? If you're negotiating, you negotiate from point of power of knowledge, not the power of destruction. If you play innocent, you have to deliver the knowledge that we have more powerful technology, that we don't need this. And this is one of the points of my, what I call separation from the Iranian leadership. My suggestion from the beginning to the Iranian administration was, we go in with the power of the knowledge. We go in with the understanding we are not here to beg, we are here to share. And somehow there's a lot of financial gains, there's a lot of financial dogfighting within the Iranian administration, which we cannot handle. It's not our job. And Keshe Foundation has taken this diverse point of view to bring that. We know the board, or not just board, all the members of the negotiating team are here with us in this meeting on different channels. They know we talk the correct way to bring, to share. And this needs all of us, because this knowledge, when we take to IAEA to negotiate, is to be shared by all of us. We are not fighting, as a members of the Keshe Foundation with IAEA 5+1, we are not fighting for superiority. We are fighting for sharing the knowledge of the, what I call the creator. And I'm sure in the coming hours, in our meetings with IAEA, we'll have a lot of second round of bashing about the heads to ignore one, that you can keep the sanctions, but you cannot ignore one when the knowledge can be given to all the nations. Our Chinese friends are here. They know when we were invited to collaborate with the Chinese Space Agency for the design of the space reactors, which is on the table of the Keshe Foundation. They wanted the fuel combination. We already have built it. We don't know how to fuel it. And that was a laugh. That was a very interesting joke for me, which was played by the Chinese Space Agency people. You build your reactor, but we cannot fuel it. Can you give us a fuel combination? And this is what I call part of our problems. Not to give the fuel combination to one nation to become superior, not to give the superiority to Iran that then we cannot tame under the name of the religion, but to give it to all of us equal, irrespective of language. And the only place, as I said, for a nuclear physicist to find home, to work, to understand, to show what it means is through IAEA. We kept this away from public, but we collaborate directly inside to bring a consensus with all of the leaders. And this is part of the game. This is part of the game of understanding politics of the nuclear technology. And we especially open this today because we're getting a very crucial point. The Iranian team is back on the table. My request to the Iranian leadership, let's play all the cards on the table and see is not who's checkmating, but who's actually mated themselves to checkpoint. And then we'll see how we develop it. We see how we go to the next step. And the whole process is to share knowledge in exchange for peace, peace for humanity. To exchange knowledge, not for finance, but for superiority in where collectively now we can go as one race. And it's very nice to see all languages are covered within the ethos of the IAEA, and most of the religious groups and leaderships are in it. Some are on the boundaries, some are within. But as I said, sanctions cannot be on the basis of knowledge. Sanction has to be on the basis of what wrongdoing has been done. You don't punish somebody who studies to become more knowledgeable. You punish the one who abuses, and this will change. In the coming weeks, you will see. We bring heavy sanctions on the state of Belgium. This is part of the agreement. No nation, no one can travel to Belgium who has been, or they have, the way you now have to have a Corona certificate, you have to prove as a Belgian you have no connection and you've never been involved in any pedophilia, any child trafficking. And we increase this one to state by state. Belgium is the beginning because they're the center. Then we see the correct conduct. Then we see the changes. This is technology in exchange for peace, but peace for all our children. Peace for the children of man, that the new cycle of children through the ethos of Mitra can be developed. You will understand slowly what we are talking about. As I said, all the pedophiles return back to Belgium. All the abusers go back to Belgium because they've been safeguarded in heaven. And now we open the door. Anybody who's been outside and heavily involved, now they know they're going to be caught, they've gone back to Belgium. Even those who left the Keshe Foundation recently, because they've been in sanctuary by their nation to abuse more. You will understand very soon why we are going. We can't have connection between the man and the universal community without bringing peace to our children, to our life, to all of us, because our children are the next generation. And in IAEA, we have all the languages. And when we ask the knowledge seekers across this planet to pray for them, is you elevate the members of the IAEA soul, which covers most of us, but this time through knowledge and not through politics or religion.
Any other question?
Mr. Kesh, we have a comment from the live stream from Betty, who says, "Good morning from Vienna. It is my first online session, and I'm so glad to be part of this Knowledge Seekers workshop." Fried responds in the live stream, "Welcome, Betty. You are in the center of what may now become the breakthrough for humanity. We have sent a lot of good energy the last few weeks." And Betty says, "Thank you so much. We need a lot of positive energy and prayers at the moment. And I am also praying that the outcome of the present circumstance will be in the favor of humanity." And she goes on, "As I listened to Mr. Kesh's last workshop, the 409th, it indeed gave me so much hope. It was like God is answering to my prayers through Mr. Kesh." And now I see that we have, I believe, the same person here in our Q&A who is asking a question in our Q&A here. Says, "Good morning, Mr. Kesh. I am from Vienna. I'm so glad to be part of this teaching. As you have mentioned, there is a shortage of manpower in our Kesh Foundation Center. And where can I find out about jobs in Austria? I am here for service to others and would be grateful if I could contribute to help humanity in any ways possible. I am a business student with my specialization in supply chain management. If I can get some info about jobs would be great. I'm sorry in advance if my question is not appropriate at this platform."
Thank you very much. Go through the usual path, info@kesh.foundation, and you will get the response sooner or later. It is what we call, it's open for this channel. Soon we'll separate these into employment sections in the new year. And we will release direct lines for employment on the Kesh Foundation website. Go to info@kesh.foundation and put your CV in, and we'll see how we can utilize your expertise in the Kesh Foundation. The problem is we don't have the expertise for all the aspects or work of the Kesh Foundation, and Kesh Foundation has gone into international market, and we are recruiting organizations who can do the job for us, and we in a way outsourcing, not by people but by management groups in everything which the foundation needs to do or has done or needs to develop further. This way allows us to concentrate on our work, and all the human resources, other parts of the construction and everything else is getting dropped out to people who are specialized in by contract they have to do. Write to info@kf.foundation, and we will get a response in a short coming time. But if you're Austrian, you know how to get with Austria Kesh Foundation directly. Is a well-known structure, and through them reach the Kesh Foundation in a faster way, because we monitor a lot of things in the background. In Kesh Foundation in Austria, it's easier if you're Austrian to reach through the Kesh Foundation, and we know who's who, and it makes it the speeds up with working with us.
Okay, Mr. Kesh, thank you. We've got a question, I think a question from Dan about KFTV. Is there any news about KFTV that we should know about?
It's as it is. It has its own management team. We don't interfere with the Kesh TV as such at the moment. It's got our heads in Romania and Australia, and the team which was set up. A lot of people were there, but enthusiasm, but now is left to the bone of the people who work in due course. We'll bring experts to run the Kesh Foundation TV next maybe 6 months or so. The concentration at the moment is on development of other side of the Keshe Foundation work, which is the enhancement centers, the factories, and the rest of it will come. We'll announce in a very rapid way. Before we used to do one project at a time, but now Keshe Foundation in 2022 will be involved in the establishment of over 100 projects in one go. That we would like to keep our people who used to make busy, very busy on the phone, trying to make that acquisition. We invest, and the nations need the investment and the employment. But we're getting one guarantee that all those who are sitting around, who want to help, will be able to help in their nations and some follow-up policy. Any other question?
Hi, Mr. Keshe. Dean,
I like your
would it be
flowers.
possible if I could ask a question?
Yeah, Dean,
Carry on.
please go ahead. Is that Dean? Sorry. Not mine.
Mr. Keshe, I have a question. We've spoken extensively about the 5+1 negotiations. And you've mentioned many times in your teachings about everything has a soul. I've noticed in a picture, in some images that I've seen recently of the flags that are positioned in certain environments. And would a flag carry a field strength of the nation? And if so, if we elevate the flag, the soul of the flag, could we elevate the nation? Could we elevate the souls that are present within that nation?
In so many ways, we patronize. But if you look for the first time in the Keshe Foundation Iran flag, stands next to the flag of Iran. This flag from Iran, the Keshe Foundation flag, very soon will be in every center to represent one nation, one planet, one race. And you will see it flying between the Iran and the nation and the Keshe Foundation in between. In a way, we bring the essence of the unity of the humanity together. It'll be done in the next few months, and you will see more and more of it. And the only place where we have one flag of the Keshe Foundation and the flag of the nation is Iran, because we are not the intermediary between, but we are part of the structure.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. So one thing I've noticed that if everything has a soul, and in the matter state, if a soul is in a physical form, and it could be in the form of an item, a possession, would that possession carry a field strength of whatever it's received in its essence, that you, if you interact with that, would it still give off a field strength from wherever the condition it's been in, if that makes sense?
I don't understand.
So if you have an item that is present in one part of the world, the globe, and it's contained a field strength, and it's had experiences within the hands or the matter state of another part, and it gets shipped or repositioned to another part of the planet, would it still carry that field strength of whatever it's received?
It should do. It should do.
So
You've seen this.
Interact with it. And feel,
you interact
feel
with any. You interact in any shape form, because still as a soul. You know this, what do you call it? The crystals you buy, like a sugar, but in different shape and sizes, stones, what do you call them? You buy them in the markets and everywhere. If you
Like
create
zirconium, you mean?
zirconiums, I think they are. Yeah. If you create a right frequency on it, they crack, they break up like they do with the glass. But if you hold it in a way I want you to split, you can break them. You don't create the resonance. You create the satisfaction of the soul, if you call it. When you break a stone by hammering it or resonance or whatever, the fracture lines are different than when you do it to the presence of pleasing my soul. Can I see you separate? I've done that many times. You can hold the stone and the stone opens up to the side. I can do this. It's, as I said before, with knowledge seekers. For my satisfaction, for your soul, I can create your shooting star. And it is understanding. Does it mean that the star is there? Did the Star of David appear out of that? Why? There is a lot of time, people trying to explain the Star of David, but was it created on a point without actually any star existing, but was to the satisfaction of confirmation of the beauty of the Christ? That's his name. We have to understand the concept, the principle, the truth about the facts. And then
Mr.
now
Keshe,
we understand more. Pardon?
Mr. Keshe, sorry. So you spoke about Christ there. So Christ as a messenger from the Creator, did he gather enough field strength to deliver his message?
In a way of doing it, yes. There is a difference in understanding the totality. It's a big difference understanding the work of the soul, or you understand the work of physicality. And in a way, he did, but in a way, his position was abused. Christ as a man, or Jesus as a man, received the message, but then manipulated by the man to suit the man. Manipulation is what we call Catholicism and Vatican of today, and the true Christians are still serving in different dimensions without belonging to Catholic faith. I was explaining to one of the knowledge seekers past couple of days. We're talking about how they try to separate the Jews from the Iranians and the rest. And I was explaining when I met my uncle, great uncle in Tel Aviv, some 20 years ago before he passed away, bless his soul. He was explaining to me that my great-grandfather, he used to be a traveler between Palestine and Afghanistan. And on the way, he always passed Karbala once or twice a year, as there were merchants on the Silk Road. And wherever he passed Karbala, he was asked to say a prayer in the mosque, because as a Jew, he had a beautiful voice to recite what we call the Azan, or whatever, when time he was in, in Iraq. It didn't matter he was a Jew. To him, it didn't matter he was in a mosque. It was the beauty of the message that the voice could transfer counted. And this is what the essence of life is. Not attached by name,
but attached by deliverance of the truth about the elevation of the soul. And this is what the problem has been for mankind, to understand the beauty of the message of Christ.
Mr. Kesh, thank you for that. So when we, as knowledge seekers, communicate and are present with each other, I've noticed recently there's a particular gentleman that I spoke with through a channel, and as soon as I spoke with him, there was a very bright light from outside, i.e. the sun. And it resonated as soon as this gentleman was speaking some of the truths and some of the beauty that has been taught by yourself through the foundation. And so these knowledge seekers have this field strength of this connection. And it seems to be illuminating and bringing about a condition that is apparent to knowledge seekers across this planet in these moments.
But we are not doing anything to say we are creating a new breed. We are sharing knowledge to enlighten the totality. And that's what the difference is. In some ways, in a couple of teachings before, we spoke about creation of the CO2 centers around the world, which has started a program we'll see taking shape in coming weeks and months, and spreading the captured CO2 to elevate the soul of the man and the humanity, and all the animals and the trees. And plants and even the stones might change because they still have a soul. They get elevated by a stone. When it goes in a furnace, receives energy, it melts. Would the energy which we release by the spreading of the gas on the stone, would it melt or elevate the soul of the stone that the stone will melt? It doesn't need heat to disassociate. It needs elevation to understand. And would we see a stone to lit up, but not with the light of the glow of the heat, but by the light of the soul, of his elevation of his soul? And this is the difference. This is the difference between the teaching of the Keshe Foundation in totality for the whole of the created, not for one path of belief or the other. In every word, if you look at it, we have a language or a word that separates us and allows us to be us, we are them, and we are correct, and they are wrong and they are not the believer. In Arabic, in Farsi, we call it kafar. In Jews, they call it qim. In English, we call it disbelievers or unbelievers, whatever you call it. But in essence, we still believe in certain path and elevation of our souls. So when we spread these gases in absorbing it and energizing the planet, would they lead to enhancement of the trees? Would many trees would not exist the way they are when we start and say, oh, is the effect of CO2? Or have we actually elevated them to that new dimension and position? And they give different fruits. Up to now, man interfered in the matter side. From now on, we interact through the energy fields of the plasma, what we call the soul of the universe. Big difference. You melt with the fire, we melt you with love. That's the difference between the state of the matter and the soul.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh, for that wonderful answer. Thank you. So we're coming to understand or have understood the beauty and the essence of the soul and how incredible it is and how it can influence the matter state in many, many different dimensions and ways. And through this, the teachings that you've extensively been sharing for quite some time now, I think many souls are becoming enlightened and feeling and sensing and becoming elevated by the presence of the soul of this beautiful big magnet that came to this planet. Thank you, Mr. Kesh. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shall we call it Derek?
Okay, we've got one attendee with their hand up for a while. Carl, who we hadn't heard from before. Could we get him in, please? Would that be okay? Or you want to? End it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's answer the last one.
Okay, Carl, do you have a question you'd like to present?
Yeah, sure. Hi, it's Carl here in Australia. And Mr. Kesh, been very interested in your talk about carbon sequestration, because here in Australia we're in a bit of trouble. Our carbon footprint is 10 times higher than it needs to be per person. And I've always wondered what amount of CO2 GANs would we have to sequester to offset our footprint? Is GANs a 1-for-1 in terms of weight to carbon? How much
I
do
don't
we
know
need
how
to
they calculated it. There was a calculation done in the past few weeks as we are building the first CO2 capture centers around the world. The designs are gone through. It's done by our Keshe Foundation team, and you will see it. It's going into is in its phase to go through what we call architects for the final design. And I was talking to our team. Maybe I'll give you an enlightenment. Just maybe it's time to share that you might see what is to come. These centers, which will be built in Tehran initially, and then in what we call in most probably China, will look very much like, by design, very much like this. Then you understand how forward we are with the whole thing. I share it with you, and I hope our team appreciated that what is about to come. This is the structures which you will see building across your nation in capturing CO2. It's actually a leaf. Again, it's the brainchild of the Keshe Foundation Television. He's a designer, and it sits perfect with us. A leaf which within it captures the CO2 like a leaf does in what we call on a tree. But this time we built it, and we built it to capture. And you will see these buildings very much similar to it across your cities, replicating the work of the leaf. Maybe in next year or two, you'll see a number of these around Tehran, Beijing, New York, London, and maybe New Delhi. And this is where the essence of work is, to understand when we capture the CO2, like a leaf, when it captures the CO2, it releases oxygen to give life. And when we capture the CO2, we have to do the same. We are not capturing it to take it out of the circulation, but we're capturing it to make it a life, a food for new generation of life, new cycle of life. And this is the beauty of it. In maybe next 2 years, you will see a number of these constructions around your city. And it costs millions to put these up a proper way, where it can actually be put across through, and we'll see the change. In contaminated cities, winter, summer, does not make any difference. The air is polluted. And this is our job to do. And it will bring changes. We'll be taking the same, as I said, the leaf takes to clean, to use, but this time when it comes out as a CO2, will be energy of it as a plasma, not as oxygen. And it's very interesting to see what changes will bring. And do we actually need to collect so much, as I said, because
we are changing so much with the transportation and with other things that we will not produce so much CO2. And then would these buildings in 10 or 15 years have any use to us as we bring everything to a balance? And in that report, what we call the business plan, they have actually calculated how much our structures around the world in the next 2 years will bring the change, the footprint of the total calculation. It's a very, very small fraction, but with a very lot of punch into it. There is, we breathe in and out, and we continue as humans put it out. What is our footprint? Breathing has a footprint. We run, we increase the footprint. Everything else has to be calculated. But it's part of the process of life on this planet. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for today. I hope we see a positive outcome in all the works of the mankind in whatever it is to bring peace. And hopefully we'll see some good results for all of us in the coming years with understanding more the knowledge of creation. Thank you very much, Rick. Hopefully we meet each other next week, and time allows, we'll celebrate what we call the Christmas and the New Year together. Thank you very much.
Okay, excellent workshop. Thank you very much, Mr. Kesh, once again here. And thanks to everyone for the questions. We had a few left over, but if you can bring them in next week, that would be great. We'd appreciate that. Okay, so I'll end with on a commercial note here, and we'll have a look at the bundle, the Christmas bundle as it's called. So this has been the 410th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, December 9th, 2021. And we'll see you all for next week in the Knowledge Seekers Workshop. We also have on Monday coming up the testimonials meeting, which is at 8 p.m. Central European Time, and with the same Zoom channel. And people are welcome to bring their testimonials of the plasma technology to that meeting, where they can, it's a great way to pay back for receiving such knowledge about the plasma technology, to share it with others. Okay, so thank you, everybody. And let me get the video teed up here.